This is a video review of the scientific basis for a commercial product designed to make you less fat. Warning! Taking down the video is a confirmation that you cannot tolerate being criticized. Don't do it. Non-invasive submental lipolysis, removing fat underneath the skin with little or no invasive behavior. Proprietary modulation method sounds like doublespeak, but it may not be. And saying something has an affinity for adipose tissue, that's fat specifically. But here we go. 160 nanometers was mentioned. Poorly, but it was printed up clearly so I could find it's 1060 nanometer. Infrared laser diodes configured for up to 1.4 watts per square centimeter. That's not a lot, by the way. Can be used to cause an increase in temperature of adipose tissue underneath the skin up to 116 degrees Fahrenheit or 47 degrees Celsius, with up to, this was in the test, not in what you would get at a clinic, up to a 3.9 out of 10 pain score, to damage the fat cells selectively by doing it through the tissue. Now, if any of you are not aware of this, the higher the frequency, the less deep it goes, in spite of conspiracy theorists. But lower frequencies, okay. But this is above radio frequencies. It has a shallow depth problem, except at certain odd frequencies, or even frequencies, where it might go through the skin. And this test was done to see if you could selectively damage, originally the research, lymphoma and lipomas, to damage cancers. This wasn't about losing weight. But hey, got to make money somehow. Got to pay off those tests. So anyway, it brings your body to the tissue temperature selectively to a higher temperature, but we have a reporting of almost 4 out of 10 pain score. Structural integrity of the cells are damaged, selectively the fat cells. And then finally, the dead cells are removed by your lymphatic system. Results in previous experiments with these limits, meaning lower limits would be maybe less effective or more, you don't know. Insignificant thickness change was seen relative to the baseline tests of fat cells. 6-month follow-up showed a slight thickness change, rebounding effectively. It was seen. So at 6 months, you'd have to go back for return visits. Hey, return business. And an insignificant thickness change was detected relative to baseline test in either the fat or the entire tissue in general. But that's immediately afterwards because it's supposedly killing the cells. I see at 400 to almost 800 terahertz or almost 400 to 750 nanometer wavelength, depending on whether or not you've had your eyes altered medically. So this non-invasive method tries not to heat the outer skin and tries to selectively damage fat cells. But this was done originally, original experiments were to try to kill cancers under the skin so you wouldn't have to cut into people. They also used every other radio frequency they could find. And this is one of the things I cite on purpose for why, 5G or any other higher frequencies, unless it's a really weird situation, it's not going to be able to go through the skin. So claiming you have ray beams hitting your brain cells, which are mostly made of fat, is a lie, not a mistake. Now let's get on with this. Almost a 4 out of 10 pain scale out of testing. Obviously they lowered that. 1.4 watts per square centimeter is, that big. Okay. But it brings the tissue to 116 degrees Fahrenheit or 47 Celsius, which you can achieve or be exposed to in ordinary weather that would be designed, that would be designated, as heat stroke conditions in most parts of the world. So, to review, the company marketing this isn't lying. Number one, they're not lying. Number two, it might work, and it might work for 6 months or more, but it might not have a chronic long-term effect because you can change body proportions by just eating less or more. Next, the diodes that are used are ridiculously expensive little devices. So no, you don't want to build your own kit. Number one, you wouldn't want to because that's a safety issue. Number two, good Lord. One of the or two of the archives below will be about thermal exposure to skin, and again, you must weigh your options. The possibility of simply being exposed to heat causing cancer, and novel occurrences where heat is exposed at layers that wouldn't occur, including the fat layer, among other things. So let's review. You basically heat up the tissues to reduce the integrity of the cell walls in fat cells, but it's not supposed to affect the skin or any other tissues, and it's not supposed to cause any problems like cancer later. I won't be doing this, number one. Number two, I mean, I don't care if I got, the spare tire. It's more of a motorcycle tire. It's not a full truck tire anymore. Maybe I should go for truck tire, number one. Number two, lasers and diodes and stuff. Meanwhile, these same NIMBYs and Karens, it's mostly women who applied for this, would scream loudly about 5G and space ray beams and every other thing. Okay, selective enforcement of your rules about electromagnetic spectrum notwithstanding, is this dangerous? I would consider it horrible if they didn't tell you, yeah, there's a slight increase in the cancer rate possible. But there's not a lot of data on this because people don't normally selectively heat up the fat under their skin. So you're not going to find any data that says it's dangerous. However, you're going to be able to find studies about doing isolated tests in a petri dish or a growth container. And yeah, heating up tissue can cause abnormal cell growth. That's about all we know about. We don't know enough. Is this going to work beyond 6 months? Does it show insignificant changes immediately? Yeah, immediately it should, but within a week it should show changes. Is this a really good way to get rid of fat cells around your abdomen? If it won't go away, compared to doing something going under the knife, maybe. How expensive is this? Just the parts alone, I estimate it would cost $250,000 for me to build a machine that you see on TV. Now we'll say the name of the company. This is the part at the end of the video where I'll say the name of the company, and I will very conspicuously edit it out in about 2 days, or maybe less. Sculpture. Well, no, that's not what the company's called because they spell it funny. There, I didn't say your company name with a trademark. However, there is one that has a homophone name for it that is probably going to sue me because I'm degrading their product or what. Yeah, it's called a review by a rational person. Yes, there have been medical tests to find out that this can work. And I would say it's safer than getting liposuction. But I'm an idiot and you shouldn't take my advice. It's a cute name. I do like that they came up finally with a name that wasn't, Rigzagolke Kabake, like on the medical commercials where they're all dancing and talking about how they're all going to die from brain tumors. Yeah, this is about the same thing. I don't see anybody doing that. Warning, this might cause subdural cancers, and blah, 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 exploding bowel syndrome. They're not doing any of that. So they need the perky, happy, dancy song. So somebody needs to make a mocking version of this, spelling it funny. And just keep doing it until they finally put out the, all the side effects disclaimers. But would I do this? No, because number one, I don't care what I look like. I just don't care, number one. And number two, I don't want to do anything that increases my cancer risk. And I would see this personally as not giving me any benefits, so don't do it, but also a tiny risk increase. But then again, being exposed to the screen I'm using here, which is an LCD screen, but has a specific type of chemical in it, that jacks up my cancer rate at something we can document. So, let's not all freak out. But yeah, as far as methods I've heard of, at least this one it only has a little bit of buzzword speak. Affinity for adipose tissue. Why don't you just say the light tends to selectively damage fat? Are you afraid of using the word fat? Making soap. The song. Fight Club soundtrack. Proprietary modulation method. Let's get to that. They hit you with a blast of the intensity torque, brings up the heat level inside, and then turn it off as soon as possible to really reduce the dosage. This is not some proprietary modulation method. It's probably just a feedback loop for making sure the temperature works. Like a thermostat. Literally, it's a thermostat. Now, I'm guessing at it because, of course, if they're saying proprietary, it just means they won't let you find out how they do it. Any medical procedure of any kind where they won't tell you how they do literally every part of it, that's the last part of this video. Don't use their product until they release all the information. There isn't anything proprietary about my medical treatment, and there shouldn't be anything proprietary or hidden for yours. Screw their lawyers. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And it's SCULPSURE. And I'll edit this out. Bye.